My main message would be that this is a very interesting and promising new technology to treat degenerative aortic bioprosthesis with good hemodynamic outcome and very little complications, as we have seen in the trial. The study's design was designed to achieve primarily good hemodynamic outcome due to the supraannular valve function with a self-expanding technology, and this was proven in the study with low gradients after implantation of the Allegra valve into the degenerative bioprosthesis, and so we had exactly met what we expected in the study. Low gradients, hardly any complications, in a quite challenging subset of patients with very small bioprosthesis. The data was actually showing that we had a really demanding patient population with a vast majority of patients carrying a mitral flow bioprosthesis inside. So the complicated bioprosthesis you don't want to have actually in a study. And we still achieved very good hemodynamic outcome with low gradients after valve and valve implantation. So we had a reduction in gradient from 35 to 11.2 millimeters of mercury. No pacemakers, no strokes, no myocardial infarctions, no major bleedings, no mortality. So quite promising outcome with that device. It is a completely new field that is coming up in the very near future. We do have roughly 200,000 aortic valve implantations per year that is done surgically, and we do know that these bioprostheses degenerate over time. So it's estimated that these valves maybe last 10 to 20 years. And so we will have in the very near future many of these interventions coming into our hospitals requesting treatment, and so we can spare these patients from redo open heart surgery. So I think this is a completely new field that is now getting to be explored and understood, and so we need good solutions to treat these patients in the future. So the main findings were that we really met the primary safety endpoint in almost none of the patients, so there was hardly any complication. With regard to the primary efficacy endpoint, we had really a nice reduction in hemodynamic gradient in a still very demanding patient population with roughly 50% of the patients carrying a mitral flow inside, and with bioprosthesis with an inner diameter labeled in the vast majority of patients with less than 22 millimeters. So the average inner diameter was 20.1 millimeters, so a quite demanding patient populations with very small bioprosthesis. The difference of this device to other competitors is that it's, besides being self-expanding, is that it carries a different mode of implantation. So it's opening in the middle proportion first. It's the so-called permaflow that opens and that prevents obstruction during the implantation. And then the inflow opens as second, and as a last, the outflow opens. And inside the valve, inside the stent, there's a pre-mounted supraannular valve function, a three-leaflet bovine pericardial tissue valve, what allows for very consistent low gradients after implantation. And same time, this valve has a shorter stent design that might also allow in the future for better coronary access as opposed to other devices. And I think this is something that is interesting to pursue in the future. So this is still a very small study, and I think we need to validate these results with larger patient subsets that need to be studied in the future. But this initial small study, only 30 patients, I think is quite promising, and so we have to validate these results in the future and to learn from there.